Chapter 38:12. Hearing the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's words, the God Kings understood what he meant. He wanted to set up camp in the mystical grotto heaven, set up traps, and wait for Long Tianlai to walk into the trap. A few of the more quick-witted God Kings agreed with the Dragon Emperor's intentions and immediately arranged for their subordinates to build a temporary residence for the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor. However, the deer-horned elder shook his head and advised the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor, "Your Majesty, this is not appropriate." The gazes of all the God Kings gathered on the deer-horned old man. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor looked at him and asked, "What's not appropriate?" The deer-horned elder stroked his brown beard and explained, "I can understand your feelings. Since you've returned home, you naturally don't want to leave. You even want to rebuild your home. However, there's nothing left here. There's no value in staying here. Moreover, the Myriad Demon Alliance has yet to be eliminated. If we stay here, we'll be in a passive position. Our advantage is that we can move in the dark. We can advance and retreat as we wish. If we stay here, we'll be in the open and the Myriad Demon Alliance will have the initiative." Hearing this, the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor frowned and pondered. He was weighing the pros and cons. Many God Kings felt that it made sense and nodded in agreement. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor was indeed nostalgic. He missed the scenery of the Divine Palace and wanted to stay. Now that he heard the deer-horned elder's advice, he felt that it made sense and gave up on the idea. "All right, we'll do as you say. We'll leave the mystical grotto heaven and continue to move in the dark." The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor nodded in agreement. He said in a dignified tone, "Compared to rebuilding our home, eliminating the Myriad Demon Alliance is more important. Next, I'll continue to contact the forces loyal to me and expand my forces. At the same time, you have to gather information and pay close attention to the Myriad Demon Alliance's movements. After we kill our way into the Myriad Demon City and destroy the Myriad Demon Alliance, I'll reveal my identity and announce the result to millions of people." The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor already had a plan for what to do next. Many God Kings felt that it was feasible and praised the Dragon Emperor for his wisdom. Northwest of the Astral Source Continent, within the Azure Snow region. The Sword of Burial of Heaven was like a streak of black light as it sped through the sky, heading straight for the Demon City. When Ji Tianqing left the Nebula Cave, he wanted to return to the Xuanji Cave to continue his seclusion and wait for the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor to return. However, in the process of his journey, he suddenly felt a sense of vigilance in his heart, and a connection with the great formation of the 9 bends of the Heaven River was formed. Through the formation he had left in the Great Formation, he could clearly sense that the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor had returned. Moreover, the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor had brought dozens of God Kings with him to break the great formation of the 9 bends of the Heaven River. Ji Tianqing was unable to find out where the dozens of God King experts came from, what their identities were, and what their strengths were. However, he was very sure that the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor had already returned to the Starsource continent. However, there was no news of his return. From this, one could see how shrewd and patient he was. Since that was the case, the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor must have come prepared. He must have gathered enough forces under his command to eliminate the Myriad Demon Alliance. When he thought of this, Ji Tianqing immediately changed his mind. He no longer headed to the Xuanji Cave, but turned around and rushed back to the Myriad Demon City. If he went to the Xuanji Cave alone, it would be no different from suicide. His top priority was to return to the Myriad Demon City as soon as possible. He had to make the necessary arrangements and prepare for the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's counterattack. Therefore, on his way back to the Myriad Demon City, he had already sent a message to the Chief of Internal Affairs and the Left and Right Protectors to inform them of the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's return. At the same time, he also asked about the Luoho Supreme Being's date of return. Previously, he had sent a message to the Chief of Internal Affairs, and learned that the Luoho Supreme Being would be returning to the Dragon Realm very soon. Calculating the time, the Luoho Supreme Being should have returned to the Starsource continent by now. Before long, the Chief of Internal Affairs and the Left and Right Protectors had both sent a message back to Ji Tianqing. A year ago, the Myriad Demon Alliance had withdrawn their defenses and gathered their elite forces to set up defenses around the Myriad Demon City. They were just waiting for the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's return. Therefore, the Myriad Demon Alliance did not panic when they heard the news of the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's return. Everything went according to plan. They changed their lines of defense and strengthened their defenses in an orderly manner. The Myriad Demon City's calm response comforted Ji Tianqing slightly. However, the Chief of Internal Affairs' reply made him frown. He was both puzzled and worried. The Chief of Internal Affairs told him that Alliance leader Luoho had indeed returned to the Dragon Realm. However, he had not returned to the Myriad Demon City. In fact, they had lost contact with Alliance leader Luoho over the past few days. They did not know what had happened. This news made Ji Tianqing's heart beat faster. He was even more worried and anxious. He even hastened his steps back to the Myriad Demon City. The Luoho Supreme Being had not returned yet. He had to rush back to the Myriad Demon City as soon as possible and personally take charge. Only then would the Thousand Demon City be able to withstand the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's attack. There were also 5 continents in the endless sky ocean of the Dragon Realm. If the entire Dragon Realm's terrain was displayed on a map, one would see that the Starsource continent was located in the center. The other 4 continents were located in the southeast, northeast, southwest, and northwest directions of the Starsource continent. The 5 continents were not connected. They were separated by the vast and mysterious endless sky ocean. Unless one was a god king, it would be difficult to cross it. In the northwest direction of the Starsource continent, on the other side of the endless sky ocean, there was an equally vast and rich continent called the Black Dragon continent. This was the origin and homeland of the Black Dragon race. Since ancient times, this continent had been controlled by the Black Dragon Emperor. Until now, the Black Dragon continent had experienced many upheavals in the past 20,000 years. However, the position of the overlord was still as stable as Mount Tai. The overlords of other continents had always been mysterious and low-key. They often did not appear for hundreds or thousands of years. However, the Black Dragon continent was different. The Black Dragon Emperor was an anomaly. He rarely cultivated in seclusion for hundreds or thousands of years. Almost every 100 years, he would appear in front of the world. He would often do things that did not suit his status as an overlord, causing the common people to gossip. For example, he would disguise himself as a noble young master and travel the continent, killing the rich to help the poor and redressing grievances for the common people. Another example was that he would bring along 3 to 5 trusted subordinates to disguise themselves and travel incognito. He would show off his affection everywhere among the common people and put on a touching marriage drama. This hobby caused his harem to be filled with wives and concubines. He had so many children that he could form a team of 1,000 people. Also, he would often disguise himself as a virtuous old immortal and go to the common people to give pointers to those talented but poor children of humble backgrounds. In short, the Black Dragon Emperor would try anything that was interesting. He did not care about his status as an overlord. The entire Black Dragon continent was filled with his figure and legendary deeds. He was so active that he was like a fake dragon emperor. Chapter 38:13. The Black Dragon Emperor's abode was located in the famous Starry Sky Grotto. This beautiful and resource-rich grotto was located in the east of the Black Dragon continent. The Starry Sky Cave, which had a circumference of 1,000,000 miles, was like a giant, transparent crystal ball attached to the space barrier of the Dragon World. Inside the Starry Sky Grotto, there was a sea of white clouds and the blue sky of the Dragon Realm. Above his head was the dark starry sky of the Outer Realm. There were also billions of specks of starlight and countless silver galaxies. Such a special environment was similar to the star-devouring grotto of the Tautai clan. However, this starry sky grotto was much larger, had much more beautiful scenery, and was dozens of times richer in resources. The star-devouring grotto was full of deserts and wastelands, mixed with a large number of barren mountains, which hid star veins. However, the starry sky grotto was not like that. There were green mountains and clear waters, thousands of trees and flowers. The incomparably rich power of the stars had nourished this grotto heaven since ancient times, causing many of the mountain ranges to turn into silver mountains of stars. The divine power was so abundant that it could make one's hair stand on end. It would condense into divine liquid and rain from time to time. The rain formed by the divine liquid would flow in the grotto and eventually converge into colorful rivers and lakes. It was no exaggeration to say that the starry sky grotto was full of treasures. A few stones dug out from the mountains would be priceless gems and divine jades in the dragon realm. In the entire Black Dragon continent, there was no other grotto that could be compared to the starry sky grotto. Even among the hundreds of grotto heavens in the dragon realm, the starry sky grotto's beauty and resources were one of the best. This was also one of the things that the Black Dragon Emperor was proud of. At this moment, in the depths of the starry sky grotto, in a sacred and glorious gilded palace, hundreds of Black Dragon clan guards in golden armor were firmly guarding the surroundings of a certain palace. In the spacious and luxurious palace hall, the atmosphere was tranquil and peaceful. There were only 2 people in the hall, sitting on opposite sides of a jade table. On the jade table were 9 kinds of rare divine fruits, a pot of top-grade divine soul jade tea, and a simple bronze incense burner, emitting refreshing green smoke. Sitting on the south side of the jade table was a tall and skinny black-robed old man. He had a head of long violet black hair, a gloomy and icy cold aura, and his eyes were violet in color. Upon closer inspection, there were actually 9 layers of pupils that overlapped with each other, causing him to seem extremely mysterious and strange. If the elders of the Myriad Demon Alliance were here, they would definitely recognize that this purple-eyed old man was their alliance master Luo Ho. At this moment, the elders and protectors of the Myriad Demon Alliance were filled with anxiety. They had lost track of their leader. However, no one would have thought that their Lord Alliance Master would actually be drinking tea in the starry sky cave of the Black Dragon continent. Seated across from God King Rahu was a middle-aged man dressed in a red robe. He didn't sit upright like God King Rahu. Instead, he reclined in an unrestrained manner. He propped himself up with one hand while sipping tea from his cup with the other. The red robe was also not neat at all. It was crooked and covered his body, and the collar was even pulled. Even his black hair was disheveled, covering the dragon horns on his forehead. He didn't have a bun or a jade crown on his head. Instead, he simply tied his hair into a ponytail, making him look extremely slovenly. To put it in a more refined way, this was called carefree, unrestrained, and frivolous. In particular, under the messy bangs, was a handsome face that was somewhat devilishly handsome, which added a bit of persuasiveness to him. This handsome, carefree, and unrestrained middle-aged man from the dragon race was the overlord of the Black Dragon continent, the Black Dragon Emperor who didn't do proper business. This trait of not doing proper business was vividly displayed at this moment. Ophidian, you've been busy for a few hundred years, but you still haven't found your old man's corpse. The Black Dragon Emperor picked up a divine fruit and threw it into his mouth. He chewed it a few times and looked at God King Rahu from the corner of his eyes as he asked in a muffled voice. God King Rahu shook his head gloomily. The Black Dragon Emperor smacked his lips and revealed a look of pity. He frowned and said, "Then you have to work harder and find his corpse as soon as possible. When the time comes, I'll have to ask him face to face what he comprehended before he died. How could he disappear without a sound? It's fine if he took things too hard, but he only told me half of the story back then. He suddenly did this to me, causing me to be conflicted for over 1,000 years. Even now, I still can't figure out the answer. This won't do. That stinky old man is too disloyal. God King Rahu was speechless and could only reveal a bitter smile. He was very respectful of his old master. The reason he was searching for his old master's corpse was to fulfill his only wish and obsession. However, when these words came out of the Black Dragon Emperor's mouth, they sounded so casual that it made one feel uncomfortable. Fortunately, God King Rahu knew the Black Dragon Emperor's temper and his relationship with his old master. If it were anyone else who dared to tease him like this, God King Rahu would have already wrung their neck. The two were silent. Only the crunching sound of the Black Dragon Emperor chewing on the dried fruit could be heard in the hall. After a while, God King Rahu took the initiative to speak. I came back this time because I have something important to take care of. Oh. The Black Dragon Emperor raised his eyebrows and looked at him from the corner of his eyes. He asked, "Tell me, what is more important than finding my old man's corpse?" God King Rahu said seriously, "The young master has returned." Ah! The Black Dragon Emperor was stunned. A trace of surprise flashed through his eyes. Then, he quickly finished the dried fruit in his mouth and swallowed it. He asked, "You mean that brat Long Tian? He's still alive?" God King Rahu frowned and explained, "The young master has been training in the God realm for more than 1,000 years. He returned to the dragon realm a year and a half ago. Firstly, he wanted to visit his old master. Secondly, he wanted to find his son." The Black Dragon Emperor's eyes widened. His expression became more and more interesting. "Not only is that brat not dead, he even has a son." Cough. "All these years, I always thought that the reason your old man took things too hard was because that brat Long Tian died." God King Rahu ignored his words and continued, "I created a faction in the Starsource continent called the Myriad Demon Alliance. After the young master and I met, I brought him back to the Myriad Demon Alliance. However, he became enemies with the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor, and our alliance threatened the Mysterious Paradise's position. As a result, our alliance clashed with the Mysterious Paradise. I died in battle with the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's clone. In a fit of anger, the young master destroyed the Mysterious Paradise while the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's main body was away. He wanted to take the position of Overlord." The Black Dragon Emperor's eyes widened again. He was shocked. "Heh! What a snakeskin! How strong is that brat? He just returned to the dragon realm and did something big. He even destroyed the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's nest. He didn't seem like such a hot-tempered person when he was young." God King Rahu frowned again and ignored the word snakeskin. He knew that this was the Black Dragon Emperor's catchphrase, so he didn't care. He continued, "The young master's strength is on par with mine." Chapter 38:14. Amazing. My little Long Tian is amazing. The Black Dragon Emperor's eyes shone with excitement as he clapped his hands. The Golden Dragon Emperor is the most unsociable. He's always been arrogant and thinks that he's the descendant of the dragon ancestor. He doesn't take us seriously. I've always disliked him, but I just couldn't find a suitable reason to deal with him. I didn't expect little Long Tian to be so amazing and help me vent my anger." God King Luoho's expression didn't change as he continued, "The young master is already qualified to take over the old master's mantle. However, the position of Overlord of the Heavenly Dragon Continent has already been given to Dragon Emperor North Sea. Therefore, I agreed to the young master's attack on the Xuanji Grotto Heaven to take over the position of Overlord. However, we have an irreconcilable enmity with the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor. Now that the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor should be back for revenge, I'm worried about the young master's safety." The Black Dragon Emperor frowned and asked with a faint smile, "Neither you nor Long Tian is a match for the Golden Dragon Emperor. However, if the two of you work together, it shouldn't be a problem, right? You came here today to ask me to help you destroy the Golden Dragon Emperor." God King Luoho didn't deny it. He only said solemnly, the young master's future achievements won't be inferior to the old master's. However, he's too young and weak. It's too dangerous for him to face the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor now. Before he could finish, the Black Dragon Emperor waved his hand and interrupted him. Furthermore, the Black Dragon Emperor stopped joking and said with a rare serious expression, Ophiuchus, there are some things that you don't know, but your old man knows. Due to some unspeakable reasons, the 5 great dragon emperors can't kill each other. Believe me, we've all sworn heavenly oaths. It's impossible for me to help you kill the Golden Dragon Emperor. Long Tian can cause trouble, so you have to bear the consequences. I can't help you even if I want to. God King Luaho's eyes dimmed when he saw the Black Dragon Emperor's determined tone. However, he changed his mind and said, you've misunderstood. I'm not asking you to kill the Golden Dragon Emperor. I'm asking you to protect the young master. The two of us will deal with the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor. However, I would like you to hold the fort. Be it in the open or in the dark, please protect the young master. This shouldn't cause you to break your oath, right? The Black Dragon Emperor rubbed his chin and frowned as he thought for a moment. Then, he smiled and nodded. That's not a bad idea. You should have said that earlier. It just so happens that I've been bored for a few decades, and I'm bored of the Black Dragon continent. Let's go to the Starsource continent for a stroll. Only then did God King Rahu smile. He hurriedly rose to his feet and bowed to the Black Dragon Emperor. Thank you for your help, Black Dragon Emperor. Young master and I will remember this kindness. The Black Dragon Emperor waved his hand and said with a smile, all right, there's no need to be so polite. That kid is to my liking, and I don't want to see him die young. Besides, for the sake of your old man, I will think of a way to help. God King Rahu's smile grew increasingly warm. He immediately bowed and took his leave. Since that's the case, this old man will take his leave first. Are you coming with me, or? The Black Dragon Emperor hurriedly replied, you can go back first. I'll rush over soon. I have to think about how to give that kid a surprise. God King Rahu did not say anything else. He bowed and was about to leave. Seeing that he was about to reach the entrance of the hall, the Black Dragon Emperor suddenly thought of something. He asked, hey, Ophiuchus, I have one last question for you. God King Rahu stopped and turned to look at him. He nodded. Please go ahead. The Black Dragon Emperor rubbed his chin and said with a playful smile, tell me honestly, is that kid Long Tian your old man's illegitimate son? God King Rahu frowned. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. Black Dragon Emperor, you asked this question many times 1,000 years ago. Besides, you asked the old master so many times. Didn't the old master answer you every time? The Black Dragon Emperor looked like he was reminiscing. He continued to smile. Although Old Sky Dragon denied it every time, I always felt that it was hard to believe. Isn't he too good to Long Tian? Also, he gave that kid the name Long Tian. Isn't that just a reverse of the two words? If they aren't father and son, who would believe it? God King Rahu did not know whether to laugh or cry. He could only explain. Black Dragon Emperor, don't make wild guesses. It really isn't like that. The Black Dragon Emperor still did not believe him. He pursed his lips and said, Old Sky Dragon has been single his entire life. If an illegitimate son suddenly appeared, he would definitely not admit it. However, this is understandable. If this happened to me, I would also. Before he could finish, God King Rahu said with a look of disdain, you won't admit it either. Stop deceiving yourself and others. Your harem is full and you have more than 1,000 children. What is there that you won't admit? That's true. The Black Dragon Emperor had nothing to say. He could only nod in agreement. God King Rahu did not continue to talk nonsense with him. He waved his hand and turned to leave the hall. At the entrance of the hall, a middle-aged man with 3 legs in golden armor bowed to him and followed him out of the divine palace. The 3-legged man in golden armor was a 9th-level divine king 3-legged golden crow. However, he was not from the starry sky grotto. He was a follower of God King Rahu and had always been active in a star domain outside the realm. This time, God King Rahu had returned from the outer realm and brought this person back to the dragon realm. In the future, he would be able to deal with the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor and Xuanji Grotto. As for the 3-legged golden crow's origin, it was a long story with some twists and turns. In fact, this 3-legged golden crow had lived in the dragon realm since the end of the ancient era. At that time, he was an elder of the Golden Crow tribe. Because of the destruction of the Phoenix tribe, the Golden Crow tribe became a sinful tribe in Tianfa. They withered day by day and were in a difficult situation. In order to avoid calamity and disaster, this 3-legged golden crow fled the dragon realm and went to the outer realm to take root in a star domain. After more than 20,000 years of accumulation and development, this 3-legged golden crow had established a large force and had the power to control an entire star domain. Unfortunately, in the great battle for the position of master of the star domain, he lost to an even stronger and more sinister opponent. From then on, the high and mighty overlord became a wanted criminal in the entire star domain. His situation was extremely dangerous. Coincidentally, a few hundred years ago, God King Rahu had entered this star domain to investigate news of Dragon Emperor Feng Tian. The two met by chance, and God King Rahu had saved him from danger several times. In the end, he had won his trust and respect. From then on, this 3-legged golden crow followed God King Rahu and secretly built up his force. Of course, God King Rahu did not build his force in the outer realm to seize the position of master of the star domain. He only wanted to make it easier to investigate news of Dragon Emperor Feng Tian and recruit more talents. Book Guest House Reading Website. Chapter 38:15. God King Rahu brought the 3-legged man and left the starry sky grotto heaven. In the spacious and bright hall, the Black Dragon Emperor was still leaning on the jade table, drinking tea and eating divine fruits. However, his frivolous smile and eyes had disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by a calm and thoughtful expression. There was no one else in the hall, and there were even loyal guards standing guard outside. In here, he was not afraid of anyone eavesdropping. He was very relaxed and content. After pondering for a long while, he knitted his brows and murmured to himself, "Old Sky Dragon, you have always been the clearest and most transparent among the 5 of us, and also the most respected one. However, you actually left us with such a big question before you died. What were you thinking? What did you realize? Could it be, the heavenly Tao gave you some instructions? Or did you see the answer? Why did he take things too hard and commit suicide? Isn't it good to live? You still have more than 60,000 years of life. That kid Long Tian is not bad, but I don't understand. Why did you think so highly of him? You can't blame us for suspecting that he is your illegitimate son. No one can understand what you are doing." The Black Dragon Emperor muttered to himself, and his frown deepened. After a long time, he seemed to have made up his mind, and his brows relaxed. "Fine, I will take advantage of Long Tian's return to observe and study him carefully. I want to see what is so special about him. I hope that I can find the answer to the mystery in my heart through him." The Black Dragon Emperor sighed and waved his hand to put away the jade table. He turned and left the hall. After a while, he returned to his bedroom and called for a maid to dress him up. According to the usual practice, he had to disguise himself before going to the Starsource continent. What identity should he disguise himself as? The sun set in the west, and night fell. The Thousand-Demon City looked calm on the surface, but the atmosphere was solemn and the defense was tight. With the Thousand-Demon City as the center, there were a total of 5 lines of defense within a radius of 1,000,000 miles, and hundreds of scouts were scattered around. The entire Dark Water region was under the control of the Thousand Demon Alliance. It was tense and on guard. The Thousand Demon Alliance's intelligence system was in full operation. Once a large group of God Kings entered the Dark Water region, the Thousand Demon Alliance would be the first to know. In the Demon City, inside the Alliance Master's Divine Palace, Ji Tianqing had already returned. He was sitting on a wooden armchair in the study, listening to the reports of the head of internal affairs and the Great Elder. 15 minutes ago, the Chief of Internal Affairs had reported on the defense of the Demon City, as well as the response plan in case of emergency. The Great Elder, Wu Xinyue, reported the peripheral situation of the Myriad Demon Alliance and the layout of the Starsource continent. After listening to their reports, Ji Tianqing nodded in satisfaction and said sincerely, "Over the past year, you've worked so hard to make so many arrangements and deployments that you didn't even have time to heal your wounds. Your contributions and hard work, this king will remember them all in his heart." The Chief of Internal Affairs and Wu Xinyue hurriedly bowed and said, "It's our duty to share young master's burdens. We don't dare to claim credit." Both sides exchanged a few pleasantries and asked each other about recent developments. Only then did the Chief of Internal Affairs and Wu Xinyue relax and chat with Ji Tianqing. Although the Alliance Master has yet to return, the young master rushed back and personally oversaw the Demon City. Now, the morale of the army has been stabilized. Young master, this old servant still doesn't understand. We have basically dealt with all the pawns and forces under the Gold Source Dragon Emperor. This time, he secretly returned to the Starsource continent. He didn't release any news, and no one took the initiative to join him. How did dozens of God Kings gather around him? Where in the world did those Divine King powerhouses pop out from? Ji Tianqing frowned and thought for a while. He said calmly, "Actually, this is all within my expectations. The Gold Source Dragon Emperor has operated in the Starsource continent for more than 20,000 years. How can he be defeated so easily? The forces and experts that our alliance eliminated should only be a portion of his pawns. There must be some pawns hidden very deeply that we haven't investigated." After pausing for a while, he added, "Also, the Gold Source Dragon Emperor has been in the Outer Realm for the past 1,000 years. He might be active in some star regions. With his strength and methods, it shouldn't be difficult for him to recruit a group of God King experts in the Outer Realm." The Chief of Internal Affairs and Wu Xinyue had never been to the Outer Realm. However, they had heard from Alliance Master Luoho that the 9 great star regions were extremely vast. There were at least 10,000 worlds of various sizes. Although no peak God Kings had been born in those worlds, the number of ordinary God Kings was more than the Dragon Realm. Both of them believed in Ji Tianqing's speculation. This means that the Gold Source Dragon Emperor brought back a group of God Kings from the Outer Realm. Since he brought people from the Outer Realm, it's definitely not just dozens of God Kings. There must be a large group of God Monarchs. Ji Tianqing nodded slightly and said in a serious tone, "This means that the Gold Source Dragon Emperor's current strength is enough to destroy the Myriad Demon Alliance. Therefore, we must be careful." Wu Xinyue thought of something and reminded, "Young master, yesterday, a genieing spy received news that someone was secretly spreading the news of the Gold Source Dragon Emperor's return. In the past year, this rumor has been spread countless times. However, this time, it seems to be true." Ji Tianqing frowned and said, "Continue." Wu Xinyue continued her analysis. Although the factions and God Kings on the continent have heard too many similar news and are already numb to it, the news has not spread yet. Many people don't believe it even if they know about it. However, the news will spread eventually. In addition, our alliance has shrunk our defenses and increased our vigilance. These changes will all confirm the news. At that time, the Starsource continent, which had just calmed down, will be stirred up again. I believe that many of the old subordinates of the mysterious grotto will become restless. They might even take the initiative to join the Gold Source Dragon Emperor. Do you think we should keep an eye on those domain lords and first-rate factions? If they make any strange moves, we can assassinate them in advance. Ji Tianqing waved his hand and said, "This is inevitable. Now, we have to gather our forces and focus on dealing with the Gold Source Dragon Emperor's counterattack. We can't split our forces to do this. No matter how the situation changes, no matter how many undercurrents there are, as long as we kill the Gold Source Dragon Emperor, everything will calm down." The Chief of Internal Affairs said worriedly, "But this way, we will be in a passive position. The initiative is in the hands of the Gold Source Dragon Emperor. We don't know when he will counterattack or how he will attack." Ji Tianqing raised his eyebrows and tapped his fingers on the table. He said, "Therefore, there is only one way for us to take the initiative. That is, to investigate the Gold Source Dragon Emperor's whereabouts. Only when we know his whereabouts can we take the initiative to act. When Alliance leader Luo Ho returns, we can even assassinate the Gold Source Dragon Emperor. Once the assassination is successful, our alliance won't need to fight those experts. We can easily win." Chapter 38:16. Things were just as Ji Tianqing and Hu Xinyue had expected. At first, no one believed the news of the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor's return. However, the news spread more, and it became more and more realistic. In addition, the myriad demon alliance's actions were also known to the world. With the two pieces of news corroborating each other, most people and experts believed that the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor had returned. As a result, the astral source continent that had finally calmed down became lively again. On the surface, there were endless discussions, but in the dark, countless factions and experts were ready to make a move. The situation became precarious. Smart people knew that the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor's subordinates had purposely spread the news and used some means to spread it even more widely. After all, the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor's prestige on this continent was deeply rooted. He had supreme prestige. The current situation was the most advantageous for the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor. It was just that the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor did not reveal his exact whereabouts. If he showed up somewhere and raised his arm, there would definitely be many followers. The entire astral source continent was in turmoil. The final battle between the Mystical Grotto and the Myriad Demon Alliance was imminent. Meanwhile, the 9 Mystical Grotto in the northernmost part of the continent was as peaceful and quiet as ever. It was as if all the mundane matters in the world had nothing to do with the Golden Rock tribe. Ever since Patriarch Golden Rock brought Peng Fei back to the 9 Mystical Grotto a year ago, the entrance to the 9 Mystical Grotto had been sealed. In the past year, the entrance to the 9 Mystical Grotto had not been opened, and no one had entered or exited. Since then, Patriarch Golden Rock had predicted what would happen next. He also guessed that there would be even greater turmoil and calamity in the near future. The only thing he and the Golden Rock tribe could do was to stay out of it. The changes in the world and the changes in royal authority were all destined by the heavens. No one could be strong forever. No royal authority could stand forever. The Golden Rock tribe had been beaten by the heavens in the ancient era. Naturally, they had recognized the reality and obediently lay low. That was why they had been able to survive until now. This time, regardless of whether the Mystical Grotto or the Myriad Demon Alliance won, the Golden Rock tribe was still as stable as Mount Tai. At this moment, in the depths of the 9 Mystical Grotto, there was a lone mountain that stood at the edge of the 9 Mystical Grotto, standing proudly in the wind. There were 3 thatched cottages at the peak of the lone peak, and an ancient tree with withered yellow leaves. As the cold wind blew, the few withered leaves on the ancient tree fell to the ground one by one. Under the ancient tree, there was a huge stone plate with a radius of 10 feet on the ground. The stone board was square in shape, with crisscrossing lines in between, forming a huge chessboard. A handsome young man from the Golden Rock clan in a white robe was sitting cross-legged in the middle of the chessboard. He was cultivating with his eyes closed. The chessboard glowed with a translucent jade light, and the crisscrossing patterns on the chessboard flickered with a five-colored divine light, exuding a divine aura that seemed to be in harmony with heaven and earth. At the edge of the chessboard, a golden-haired old man stood with his hands clasped behind his back, looking at the cliff on the side of the lone peak. The youth who was cultivating in seclusion with divine light all over his body was Peng Fei. A year ago, when he left the Xuanji Grotto heaven with Forefather Golden Rock had asked him if he wanted to return to the Nine Mystical Grotto heaven or stay with Long Tian. According to past practice, Peng Fei would of course stay with Long Tian and was unwilling to return to the Nine Mystical Grotto heaven. However, when he instinctively opened his mouth to say the answer, he swallowed the words that were at the tip of his tongue. At that time, he stood at the peak of Sky Crane Mountain, frowning in silence and thinking for a long time. Forefather Golden Rock stood beside him and looked at him quietly, not rushing him. In the end, Peng Fei changed his mind and decided to return to the Nine Mystical Grotto heaven with Forefather Golden Rock. Although he had followed Ji Tianqing for a year, he had spent most of his time cultivating in seclusion in the Divine Pagoda and rarely had the chance to train with Ji Tianqing. However, Ji Tianqing's experience in that year could be said to be full of twists and turns and dangers. The responses he made and the occasional words he said to Peng Fei gave Peng Fei all sorts of insights. As a result, under Ji Tianqing's influence, Peng Fei gradually found answers to all the questions that he could not understand in the past. Ji Tianqing did not open his heart to Peng Fei, nor did he preach or enlighten him. However, he used his words and actions to influence Peng Fei's Tao heart and beliefs. Even if Peng Fei had insights and made the final decision, it was his own choice. This kind of subtle influence and teaching method was naturally the best and most effective. Of course, this method was only effective for smart people with high comprehension ability. If it was for stupid people, it was better to teach them directly. Peng Fei was smart and had high comprehension ability. The reason why he decided to return to the Nine Mystical Grotto heaven was because he had calmed down and thought carefully, and realized that he had already obtained the answer he wanted. His Tao heart was no longer confused and lost. It had become clear and firm. Since that was the case, there was not much benefit in staying by Ji Tianqing's side. It was better to return to the Nine Mystical Grotto heaven and properly digest the insights and benefits he had gained in the past year, taking the opportunity to break through to the Divine King realm. Ancestor Golden Rock naturally expressed his support for Peng Fei's decision. This was because this highly respected and wise old man had sensed the change in Peng Fei when he first met him. Since Peng Fei understood, it meant that he had found the answer and direction. Of course, this was a good thing. Seeing that his great-great-grandson had matured and was about to break through to the Divine King realm, Ancestor Golden Rock brought Peng Fei back to the Nine Mystical Grotto heaven without hesitation. After returning, he brought Peng Fei to the peak of this mountain and let Peng Fei cultivate in seclusion under the ancient tree to break through to the Divine King realm in peace. This ancient tree originated from the ancient times. It looked old and decrepit on the surface, but its effects were miraculous. This mountain was where Ancestor Golden Rock cultivated in seclusion. Without his permission, no one was allowed to approach. Peng Fei cultivated in seclusion here. With the help of the ancient tree in the chessboard divine formation, as well as Ancestor Golden Rock's protection, he was naturally safe and undisturbed. Now that a year had passed, Peng Fei had already accumulated enough foundation and made all the preparations. Just 2 days ago, he had officially begun to break through the shackles. He swore to cross the chasm and enter the Divine King realm. He had already made up his mind. He would not stop until he broke through to the Divine King realm. At the same time, at the southernmost part of the Starsource continent, in the vast South Sea, a huge whirlpool with a radius of 10,000 miles had appeared on the surface of the sea since the ancient times. It swallowed seawater day and night. This huge and terrifying whirlpool was like a hole in the sky that could never be filled. No one knew where the whirlpool led to. However, There were a few Divine King experts who knew that the famous South Sea Blessed Land was hidden in this whirlpool. The entrance to the South Sea Blessed Land was very hidden, and it was located in an extremely dangerous whirlpool. Ordinary people could not enter at all. However, at this moment, a man from the Dragon clan wearing a golden robe and a divine crown stepped into the whirlpool with a deer-horned elder. Chapter 38:17. The entrance to the Blessed Land had been sealed off by a divine array and there were no experts guarding it. Seeing this, the man from the Dragon race frowned and sneered. The Battle Whale race was still loyal to me in the past. I didn't expect them to seal off the entrance to the Blessed Land. What did Long Tian do to Divine King Battle Whale? Why is he so scared that he doesn't dare to show his face? After more than a month of investigation, the man from the Dragon race, who was the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor, already knew the details of the destruction of the Xuanji Grotto Heaven. At the critical moment, Divine King Battle Whale asked Old Ancestor Golden Rock for help. However, Old Ancestor Golden Rock turned against him and insisted on leaving. Divine King Battle Whale also lost to Long Tian and fled back to the South Sea Blessed Land. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor already knew about this. He came here today to see Divine King Battle Whale's attitude. If possible, he wanted to persuade Divine King Battle Whale to continue working for him against the Myriad Demon Alliance. Dragon Emperor, are we still going in? The deer-horned elder looked at the sealed entrance and asked with a bow. Of course we are going in. I want to ask Divine King Battle Whale what he wants. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor swung his sleeves angrily and took out his divine sword to slash at the entrance. The divine array at the entrance trembled and cracks appeared. When the deer-horned elder saw the Dragon Emperor attacking, he couldn't just stand by and watch. He quickly took out two Zhidian axes and attacked the entrance. The divine array at the entrance of the South Sea Blessed Land was personally set up by Divine King Battle Whale. He didn't have enough time to set up a Supreme King Grade Divine Array, so he set up a High King Grade Divine Array. However, it was a high-grade Divine Array and ordinary Divine Kings couldn't break it. However, the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor was a peak Divine King and the Deer-Horned Elder was a 9th degree Divine King. How could the Divine Array withstand their attacks? In less than 10 breaths, the Divine Array was filled with cracks and was about to break. At this moment, a murderous roar came from within the formation. Who are you? How dare you attack my South Sea Blessed Land? Are you tired of living? Through the blazing white light screen, one could clearly see the commander of the guards guarding the entrance of the Blessed Land, roaring ferociously. That guard commander was a lower Divine King, and he had over 100 Divine Lord Realm Battle Whale clan guards by his side. All of them were holding sabers, spears, swords, and halberds. It was as if they were facing a great enemy. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's face darkened even more. He did not reply but sped up his attack on the Sealing Immortal formation. The guard commander became even more furious and even started cursing loudly. After another 10 breaths of time, a crisp cracking sound rang out, and the sealing formation finally shattered. A 10 feet wide gap appeared as the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor and the Deer-Horned Elder charged into the South Sea Blessed Land in a flash. Shwa! Over 100 guards were in a towering rage when they suddenly saw two uninvited guests barging in. Their killing intent immediately exploded, and without the commander's order, they immediately surrounded and attacked. This was the instinctive reaction of the guards, and it had nothing to do with the identity of the intruder. The overwhelming divine arts and saber radiance were about to engulf the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor and the Deer-Horned Elder. However, the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor was indifferent. He ignored the guards and looked coldly into the depths of the Blessed Land. On the other hand, the Deer-Horned Elder took a step forward and stood in front of the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor. His body emitted boundless golden light that was as dazzling as the sun. Boom! There was a loud explosion as the saber radiance, sword radiance, and divine arts were all shattered by the golden light. The ferocious impact sent the leader of the guards and more than 100 guards flying backward. The deer-horned elder had shown mercy. The guards were all severely injured and vomiting blood, but none of them died. Even if these guards had offended the Dragon Emperor, he could not blame them even if he killed them on the spot. However, the owner of this blessed land was a powerful peak divine king, and he could possibly become the Dragon Emperor's assistant. Of course, the deer-horned elder would not kill them so easily, lest he became enemies with them. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor glanced coldly at the scattered guards and shouted in a domineering and imposing tone, "Ask Divine King Warwhale to come out and see me." Some of the smarter guards had guessed the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's identity. However, many of the guards were so furious that they were blinded by their anger. They roared and struggled to get up. They waved their weapons and attacked the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor again. By the time the guard commander regained his senses, it was too late to stop them. Seeing this, the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's face darkened. However, at this moment, a beam of divine light lit up the sky in the distance, and a majestic roar sounded. "Stop!" That roar was like a bolt from the blue, and it caused the guards to tremble. Instinctively, they revealed looks of fear. At the same time, a dazzling golden light descended from the sky and enveloped the guards. With a series of muffled bangs, the divine spell attacks of the guards were all blocked by the golden light shield. The guards came back to their senses and no longer dared to attack. They all obediently stayed where they were and stared at the divine light that was speeding towards them. Whoosh! The beam of divine light traveled thousands of miles in an instant and landed on the ground. "All of you, back down." The person who had arrived was as large as a mountain. He had a wide face and a flat mouth. He emitted the unique scent of the sea tribe. It was God Monarch Battle Whale. Hearing God Monarch Battle Whale's order, the guard commander bowed and hurriedly left with close to 100 guards. Only God Monarch Battle Whale, the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor, and the Deer-Horned Elder were left. After the Battle Whale guards retreated tens of thousands of miles away, God Monarch Battle Whale looked at the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor and bowed apologetically. "I came late and allowed my people to offend your majesty. Please forgive me, your majesty." God Monarch Battle Whale did not mention that the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor had barged into the South Sea blessed land. Instead, he humbled himself and apologized. Seeing his attitude, the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's gloomy expression eased a lot. He stared at God Monarch Battle Whale for a moment before saying with a faint smile, "The great God Monarch Battle Whale was forced by a junior to seal his blessed land and not show himself. Previously, I thought that you were severely injured by Long Tian and needed to recuperate. Now, it seems like you are not injured at all. That's strange." When God Monarch Battle Whale fought with Ji Tianqing, he was indeed severely injured. However, in the past year, God Monarch Battle Whale had already recovered from his injuries. Now, he looked perfectly fine. God Monarch Battle Whale could hear the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's unfriendly tone. He knew that the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor was already suspecting him of colluding with Long Tian. Without any hesitation, he bowed and explained, "Dragon Emperor, please enlighten me. A year ago, I fought with Long Tian, and I did suffer some serious injuries. I have indeed been in seclusion to recuperate for the past year. Regarding this, the elders, protectors, and deacons of my tribe can testify." He. "There's no need. I am still willing to believe you." The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor waved his hand and laughed coldly. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 38:18. The words, "I'm still willing to believe you," made God King Warwhale's eyes flash with a strange light. Of course, he knew that the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor's words contained a lot of information and a hint of threat. Although the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor's arrogant attitude made him feel uncomfortable, he maintained his composure. However, his expression did not change and he still maintained a respectful attitude. The Gold Origin Dragon Emperor did not waste any time and said directly, "You should know why I've come to find you personally." God King War Whale did not play dumb. He bowed and said, "In the battle a year ago, I failed to stop the Myriad Demon Alliance and protect Xuanji Grotto Heaven. This is indeed a dereliction of duty on my part. I have disappointed your Majesty Dragon Emperor. Please punish me. However, Long Tian is too powerful and I'm no match for him. I can't do anything. Speaking of which, old ancestor Golden Rock's desertion is despicable." While God King War Whale admitted his fault, he pushed the blame to old ancestor Golden Rock to divert the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor's anger. The Gold Origin Dragon Emperor frowned and said in a deep voice, "I'll find an opportunity to settle the score with old ancestor Golden Rock after I destroy the Myriad Demon Alliance. However, he has never been interested in worldly affairs and has never pledged his loyalty to me. It's within my expectations that he'll stay out of this." Although the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor was angry, he was not unreasonable. God King War Whale realized that he had failed to push the blame to the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor. He could not help but feel uneasy. As expected, the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor continued, "Since I've returned, I'll naturally gather all my forces to destroy the Myriad Demon Alliance and take revenge. Come and give me a hand. After the Myriad Demon Alliance is pacified, I will remember your contribution." The Gold Origin Dragon Emperor treated God King War Whale as his subordinate. Although he was asking for the God King War Whale's help, the words that came out of his mouth carried a commanding tone. God King War Whale could only smile bitterly. He bowed deeply and said helplessly, "Please forgive me, Your Majesty. I can't do as you say." The Gold Origin Dragon Emperor was not surprised by this answer. He was already prepared. He stared at God King War Whale expressionlessly and asked coldly, "Why? Give me a reason." This. God King War Whale was left speechless. His expression kept changing, his eyes filled with hesitation and struggle. Out of his heart, he didn't want to tell her the truth. After all, that would be too embarrassing. However, the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor was not to be trifled with. No matter what excuse he came up with, it would be difficult to deceive the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor. Especially at this moment, the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor didn't rush him. Instead, he stared at Yi Futian with a sharp gaze and exuded an intimidating aura. That sharp gaze seemed to be able to see through God King War Whale. Divine King War Whale hesitated for a long time before finally deciding to tell the truth. In any case, the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor was the overlord of the continent, a peak god king. Even if he told him, it wouldn't be embarrassing. Furthermore, given the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's personality, he would not go around telling others about it. "Your Majesty Dragon Emperor, to tell you the truth. I fought with Long Tian and lost to him. He forced me to swear an oath to the Heavenly Tao, and I was only able to escape." When God King War Whale revealed this embarrassing secret, he felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted off his shoulders. The Gold Origin Dragon Emperor frowned as a cold glint flashed across his eyes. After a moment of silence, he asked in a deep voice, "Is Long Tian really that powerful?" The Gold Origin Dragon Emperor nodded and explained, "He killed Tao Yongxing of the Tao Tai tribe and stole the primordial chaos bell." "I see." The Gold Origin Dragon Emperor was enlightened. He knew very well that there was a huge difference between a peak god king with a supreme grade king grade divine weapon and a peak god king without one. "So, Long Tian forced you to swear an oath to the Heavenly Tao to stay out of this matter and not attack him and the Myriad Demon Alliance." God King War Whale smiled bitterly and nodded. "The Dragon Emperor is wise. That is indeed the case." "Humph. How despicable." The Gold Origin Dragon Emperor's face darkened as he felt anger surging in his chest after his guess was confirmed. Now that God King War Whale had revealed the truth, he became even more magnanimous. In his opinion, no matter how overbearing the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor was, he should have backed off. However, he didn't expect the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor to refuse to give up after a moment of silence. He said, "What is the heavenly Tao? Does it exist? No one can be sure. Things like an oath to the heavenly Tao are even more illusory. As a peak God King, how can you be trapped because of this? If you believe in some *T oath, you will be trapped in a trap of your own making." God King Warwhale was rendered speechless by this shameless excuse. He thought to himself, "Anyway, you are not the one who made the oath. If you break the oath, you will not be the one to suffer the wrath of the heavens. It is so easy for you to say that." Despite his anger, God King Warwhale could only be patient and explain to the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor the authenticity of the oath to the heavenly Tao. Under his repeated explanations, the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor could only give up on the idea. Since God King Warwhale was firm in his decision, the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor didn't say anything else and left angrily. Both parties parted on bad terms, but God King Warwhale was still respectful and sent him out of the South Sea blessed land with a smile. After a while, the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor and the Deer-horned Elder left the South Sea blessed land. They crossed the vast sea and headed north. Seeing that the Dragon Emperor was still angry, the Deer-horned Elder persuaded, "Your Majesty, please calm down. God King Warwhale is bound by the oath to the heavenly Tao and can't serve you." However, his attitude was still respectful and he remembered his status. He didn't overstep his boundaries or show any disrespect. Speaking of which, he is simple-minded and weak. That's why he fell into Long Tian's trap. If you take your anger out on him and don't trust him anymore, you will lose a great help. After the matter with the Myriad Demon Alliance is over, you can still control him. Before the Deer-horned Elder could finish, the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor sneered, "He is only useful to deal with the Myriad Demon Alliance. After I eliminate the Myriad Demon Alliance, what use will he be?" Without a doubt, the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor had given up on God King Warwhale and remembered this debt. After the matter with the Myriad Demon Alliance was over, he would definitely find a reason to suppress and eliminate God King Warwhale. The deer-horned old man was terrified when he thought about it, and a wisp of fear flashed through his eyes. He didn't dare say anything else. Not long after, the two left the South Sea and returned to the Starsource continent. At this moment, a communication jade slip descended from the sky and landed in front of the Deer-horned Elder. The Deer-horned Elder picked up the jade slip and read the message. He was delighted and reported to the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor, "Congratulations, Your Majesty. The news of your return for revenge has spread across the continent. Everyone is excited. Now, you are the focus of everyone's attention. In the past 3 days, more than 10 forces have contacted us. They want to pledge their loyalty to Your Majesty and help Your Majesty eliminate the Myriad Demon Alliance. After a few God Kings' investigation and selection, we have finally decided on 9 forces that can be used by us." Of course, the forces that submitted to the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor were mixed. Those who were too weak were not qualified to follow the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor. Those who could be used by the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor were either God Kings or a large group of upper God Kings. Just by taking in 9 factions, the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor had gained over 1,000 elites. After hearing the Deer-horned Elder's report, the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor's brows relaxed. He looked at the northern sky and ordered in a deep voice, "Send my order to them. Secretly gather our men and wait for me in the Chien Foam region. There is no time to lose. Within 10 days, I will personally go to the Myriad Demon City and eliminate the Myriad Demon Alliance." Wonderful Book House. He is a friend that I made when I was traveling in the Outer Realm and searching for information. For so many years, it was all thanks to Jinwu Divine King's help that I was able to move around in the extraterritorial realm smoothly. This time, Jinwu Divine King was a great help in dealing with the matters of the Xuanji Grotto. Everyone, come and greet the fifth Golden Divine King and get to know each other. Soon, everyone would have to work together to resist the Xuanji Grotto's counterattack. If they were too unfamiliar with each other, it would be difficult for them to work together. Thus, God King Rahu hurriedly introduced everyone to each other. Ji Tianqing and the others turned to the Jinwu Divine Monarch and sized up the three-legged man curiously. Jinwu Godly King was tactful. He knew that these people were Godly King Luoho's trusted aides. Before anyone could greet him, he smiled and took the initiative to say, "Alliance leader, you are flattering me. Back then, in the outer realm, if you had not saved me twice, I would have turned into ashes and died in a foreign land. How could I have survived until now? It is my honor to be able to follow you and share your burdens. Of course, it is my honor to be able to meet all of you here." After speaking, Jinwu Divine King took the initiative to greet Ji Tianqing and the others. Ji Tianqing, the head of internal affairs, the protectors, and the elders also bowed to Jinwu Divine King and introduced themselves. Both parties exchanged pleasantries and chatted for a long time before it ended. In this way, everyone was acquainted with Jinwu Divine King. However, when he would gain everyone's trust and friendship would depend on his subsequent performance. After everyone finished exchanging pleasantries, the head of internal affairs and the left and right protectors reported to God King Rahu about the myriad demon alliance's current defense situation. God King Rahu expressed his approval. After knowing that it was Ji Tianqing's arrangement, he felt gratified. After discussing official matters, Ji Tianqing asked, "You should have returned to the myriad demon city a few days ago. Why did you disappear for a few days? What happened?" Not only was Ji Tianqing puzzled, but the head of internal affairs, the protectors, and the elders also looked at him and had the same question in their hearts. God King Rahu smiled and said, "Young master, this is also something that I wanted to tell everyone. The reason why I disappeared for a few days was because I went to a special place and met a special expert." Everyone was still puzzled, but Ji Tianqing guessed what he meant and asked, "You went to find strong reinforcements?" "That's right." God King Rahu smiled and nodded. He said, "I met that expert and chatted with him about old times. I also asked him for help. He agreed. Although he did not return with me, he will help when the time is right." Chapter 38:20. Out of his heart, God King Rahu wanted to tell Ji Tianqing the truth. But remembering that person's instructions, he could only keep it a secret. He transmitted to Ji Tianqing, "Young master, you guessed right. It is indeed one of the three." Ji Tianqing chuckled, "You still want to keep it a secret? This secretive style is a bit like that unscrupulous old man." Immortal King Luoho smiled, "Soon, when we go to war with abstruse grotto heaven, you will see him." Ji Tianqing thought for a while, then frowned and asked, "I remember Master saying that the 5 great dragon emperors had an agreement. They seem to have sworn a heavenly oath not to kill each other. Will that person help us deal with the Gold Source Dragon Emperor?" Immortal King Luoho was a little surprised. He transmitted, "So young master also knows this secret. He did explain it to me. When we go to war with abstruse grotto heaven, he will not personally deal with the Gold Source Dragon Emperor. I went to look for him to ask for his help in protecting young lord's safety." Ji Tianqing frowned and said disappointedly, "In that case, he is not our strong helper, but only a protective talisman." Immortal King Luoho did not mind. He said calmly, "Fighting for supremacy with abstruse grotto heaven is our business. We should not borrow the help of others. Interfering with the succession of the continent's overlord is a huge karma. It could very well affect the will of the heavens. Peak immortal kings like him and old ancestor Golden Rock are at a critical juncture of comprehending the power of the heavens. Naturally, they would not dare to get involved in such a huge karma." Karma and the will of the heavens were all very vague sayings. But that was because the common people had not seen it with their own eyes. Of course, they would not believe it. But experts like Ji Tianqing and immortal King Luoho believed it without a doubt. They knew very well how sacred, powerful and unpredictable the will of the heavens was. Therefore, it was understandable that the Dragon Emperor did not deal with the gold-sourced Dragon Emperor. The regret in Ji Tianqing's heart also dissipated a lot. Your words have reminded me of something. In the past, God King Warwhale probably didn't believe in the will of the heavenly Tao and karma. That's why he accepted the War Dragon King's invitation to help the mysterious paradise deal with us. However, I taught him a lesson and forced him to swear an oath to the heavenly Tao. Now, he definitely won't dare to get involved in this matter. Luoho God King revealed a look of interest. He nodded and said, "Young master, please tell me the details of this matter later." "Alright, let's get down to business first." Ji Tianqing stopped talking to him through telepathy and turned to look at Jinwu Divine King, Fu Ergu, the left and right protectors, and a few elders. Now that the overall situation has been decided, you can speak freely if you have any ideas about the next action plan. God King Rahu nodded as well. Everyone, give us your suggestions. Let's brainstorm. Everyone fell silent, frowning as they pondered over the method and wording. Ji Tianqing, the chief of internal affairs, Hu Xinyue, and the others all glanced at Jinwu Divine King. Jinwu Divine King was very tactful. He bowed and said with a smile, "I'm just following the leader. I'm following his orders. As for the Dragon Realm and the mysterious paradise, I'm still not familiar with the situation. I don't have any plans or countermeasures, so I won't embarrass myself. Please give me your suggestions. If you have any orders or need my help, I'll do it." Jinwu Divine King made his attitude clear. He was just following orders and running errands. He would never criticize the Myriad Demon Alliance, nor would he overstep his authority. The chief of internal affairs, the left and right protectors, and a few elders were relieved. They felt that this person was very sensible and would be able to get along well in the future. Currently, the situation in the Starsource continent was turbulent. The Myriad Demon Alliance's emotions were tense. They could have a decisive battle with the mysterious paradise at any time. If at this time, there was discord among the experts, or even signs of a power struggle, it would be a fatal blow to the Myriad Demon Alliance. Previously, everyone was still a little worried. Now, they lowered their guard. Therefore, Wu Xinyue took the lead and said, "Since it's a brainstorming session, I'll throw a brick to attract the jade. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor hasn't shown himself yet. Instead, he's secretly recruiting people and creating rumors. He wants us to panic. I'm guessing that he must have planted spies near the Myriad Demon City. He might even have spies in the Alliance. When our defense is weakened, it'll be the time for the mysterious paradise to launch a large-scale attack. I suggest that the Alliance's soldiers maintain a high level of vigilance at all times. Also, we must strictly investigate those who are acting strangely. We can't reveal any flaws." Hearing this, everyone nodded slightly in agreement. With Hu Xinyue taking the lead, Ao Jinying also said, "I'll control the intelligence network. I'll do my best to find out any information about the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor. Currently, our disadvantage is that we're in the open, while the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor is in the dark. He has the initiative. As long as we can find traces of the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor, we can turn from passive to active. I believe that this should be a breakthrough for us to defeat the mysterious paradise. Although we have many subordinates, we don't have any peak experts. It's inconvenient for us to do things. I'd like to ask Lord Alliance Master to send 1 or 2 peak experts to help." Everyone felt that Ao Jinying's words made sense. They all nodded in agreement. Luoho God King looked at the left and right protectors. The left and right protectors stroked their beards and smiled. The 2 elders have said what needs to be said. We've done what needs to be done under young master's orders. Luoho God King then looked at the chief of internal affairs, Fu Ergu. He bowed without hesitation and said, I don't know much about external affairs. I've troubled everyone. However, I'll do my best to deal with the internal affairs of the myriad demon city, as well as the investigation of spies and the elimination of the mysterious paradise's spies. Luoho God King nodded in satisfaction. He then looked at Ji Tianqing and asked, Young master, do you have any additional instructions? Ji Tianqing had already thought of what to say. He said directly, based on the current situation, our alliance's morale is stable. We're in a state of high alert. Our battle strength is also at its peak. Even if there are some small mistakes or problems, they can be resolved quickly. However, the biggest problem is that we're in a passive position. We can only wait for the mysterious paradise to attack. As the saying goes, you can only be a thief for 1,000 days. How can you guard against a thief for 1,000 days? No matter how elite a soldier is, if they're constantly in a tense state, there will be a day when they collapse. If the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor is cunning enough and patient enough, he'll find an opportunity to strike after a few more months. Therefore, we must prepare a backup plan on top of being fully alert. Luoho God King, the protectors, and the elders' eyes lit up. They all asked, Young master, what preparations? Ji Tianqing smiled confidently and said, if the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor doesn't act, then we'll force him to show himself. Chapter 38-21. Force the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor to show himself. The Gold Origin Dragon Emperor has already returned to the Starsource continent for 2 months, but he still refuses to show himself. He's obviously very patient and sinister. I wonder if young master has a good plan to force him to show himself. The left and right protectors, Hu Xinyue, and a few elders all looked at Ji Tianqing expectantly. Even the Jinwu Divine King was looking at Ji Tianqing with shining eyes and a smile on his face. This quick-witted three-legged fellow could tell that this young master was extraordinary and had a high prestige in the league after interacting with him for a short hour. Everyone was still thinking about how to guard against the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor's sudden attack. However, he had already thought about how to attack if the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor chose not to show himself. Just this point alone made the Jinwu Divine King feel that this young master was worthy of everyone's trust and respect. He was also very interested in the young master's second plan. Ji Tianqing said, I've set up a new sealing formation in the Xuanji Grotto. The Gold Origin Dragon Emperor once broke through the formation and returned to the Xuanji Grotto. However, he did not stay in the Xuanji Grotto and did not rebuild his home. In order to seize the initiative, he chose to hide in the dark and temporarily give up on the Xuanji Grotto. He is very wise. He knows that only by destroying our alliance can he truly take back the Xuanji Grotto. However, this also gives us an opportunity. Hu Xinyue immediately understood what he meant. Her eyes lit up as she asked, Young master, you mean we can take advantage of the Xuanji Grotto? Yes. Ji Tianqing nodded and explained, the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor is not in a hurry. He wants to stall for time and attack after we've been worn down. Then we'll take control of the Xuanji Grotto and build a divine palace with great fanfare. We'll spread the news and let everyone know that we're going to take over the Xuanji Grotto. Ao Jinying will be in charge of intelligence and spread the news with exaggerated details. For example, our alliance is the rightful ruler and the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor has died in the Outer Realm. Another example is that the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor has secretly returned to the Starsource continent. However, he's living an ignoble existence and does not dare to take revenge. At that time, how will the people talk about it? Where will the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor's dignity go? Hearing this, everyone understood and smiled. Young Lord is wise. Ao Jinying was the most excited one, and he was even eager to try. He said emotionally, leading the wind and public opinion is what I am best at. At that time, I will slander and humiliate the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor. Let's see if he can still keep his cool. If he continued to endure, he would lose all of his reputation and dignity. Even if he regained control of the Xuanji Grotto, his prestige would plummet. But with his nature, he won't be able to tolerate it no matter what. He'll definitely make a high-profile appearance, announce it to the world, and launch a large-scale attack. The left and right protectors, the head of internal affairs, and several elders also agreed with this idea and put forward their own suggestions. With a few words of discussion, many details were perfected. Seeing everyone's anticipation and eagerness, God King Rahu revealed a smile and nodded. "Young master, what you said is indeed a good idea. It will save time and effort. Since that's the case, I'll leave this matter to you. Let's get started as soon as possible." "Okay." Ji Tianqing nodded in agreement. God King Rahu then instructed God King Jinwu, the third elder doesn't have any top experts under him. Go and help him gather information and carry out some missions. God King Jinwu naturally wouldn't decline and agreed without hesitation. God King Rahu then looked at the head of internal affairs and said, "I'll leave the internal affairs of the demon city to you, as well as the matter of eliminating spies. I won't disappoint the alliance leader." Fu Ergu immediately bowed. After the discussion, everyone bid farewell and left. Only Ji Tianqing and God King Rahu were left in the study. The two sat down and continued to discuss the details of the mission. "Young lord, go to the Xuanji Grotto to build a divine palace. Ao Jinying will cooperate with you to spread the news and force the Golden Dragon Emperor to appear. When the time comes, the Golden Dragon Emperor will very likely lead his troops to attack the demon city. However, he might also lead his experts to attack the Xuanji Grotto in anger. The demon city and the Xuanji Grotto are very far apart. We can't split into two groups, right?" Ji Tianqing smiled and said, "You're more thoughtful than them. You even considered this drawback. It's fine, I've already thought about it. I'll set up a teleportation divine formation in the Xuanji Grotto that connects to the demon city. This will make it easier for us to send reinforcements. Also, the construction of the divine palace is just a pretense. We won't really invest too many people. The real elites will stay in the demon city and I'll bring the rest with me." God King Rahu knew that he had the primordial chaos bell and could bring countless soldiers with him. He didn't ask for details. After all, Ji Tianqing had led his troops to attack the Xuanji Grotto's strongholds and sneaked into the Xuanji Grotto to attack the Golden Dragon Mountain's headquarters. Both God King Rahu and Ji Tianqing knew what to do. They also let the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor use what he learned and used it against the Demon Alliance. The two of them conversed in secret for an hour before Ji Tianqing took his leave. Following that, Ji Tianqing selected over 1,000 elite Divine Lord experts and 5 Divine King experts to hide in the Primal Chaos Primordial Bell. The Demon City also spread the news that they were recruiting more than 2,000 craftsmen. 2 days later, Ji Tianqing steered a divine ship and brought the 2,000 or so artisans to the Enigma Paradise at lightning speed. After arriving at the Xuanji Grotto, he first repaired the 9 bends of the Heaven River formation at the entrance. Then, he led the God Kings and God Lords to build a teleportation divine formation in the depths of the grotto to connect to the demon city. At the same time, the intelligence network that Ao Jinying was in charge of started spreading all kinds of news on the Starsource continent. There were 2 sides to the news. One was that the Demon Alliance wanted to take control of the Xuanji Grotto and establish themselves as the overlord. On the other hand, they were unscrupulously slandering the Golden Source Dragon Emperor. The situation in the Starsource continent was already unstable and tense to the extreme. The commoners, factions, and experts were all paying attention to the Demon Alliance and the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's every move. The news was spread by the Demon Alliance to all regions in the continent at an extremely fast speed. In just a few days, everyone knew about it. In the beginning, many experts and factions did not believe that the Demon Alliance would be so arrogant to enter the Xuanji Grotto at this juncture. For 7 consecutive days, there were countless experts and secret agents gathering information in the vicinity of Sky Crane Mountain. In the end, those experts and spies found that there were indeed people entering and leaving the Xuanji Grotto. Some experts used their mystiques to disguise themselves and sneak into the Xuanji Grotto. Then, they saw that there were indeed more than 2,000 craftsmen in the ruins of the Golden Dragon Mountain. They were busy building divine palaces. When the news spread, it caused a huge uproar on the Starsource continent. Everyone knew that the Demon Alliance was really going to take control of the Xuanji Grotto. This was basically trampling on the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's face. For a time, the situation on the continent was extremely tense. Turbulent undercurrents could erupt at any time. The public opinion and the direction of the wind started to become chaotic and complicated. This lessened the pressure on the Demon Alliance, but cast a shadow over the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor. As all kinds of messy news spread, the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's reputation became worse and worse. His status in the hearts of the commoners also plummeted. Smart factions and experts knew that the Demon Alliance was forcing the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor to show himself. However, the commoners did not understand. They only knew that the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor did not dare to show himself. It was very strange and disappointing. Chapter 38-22. When the situation was extremely tense and the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor's reputation was in tatters, 5th Gene was also the busiest. He only had one mission, and that was to help Ao Genieing investigate the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor's whereabouts. As long as he could confirm the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor's whereabouts, it would be a great contribution. This was because everyone in the Myriad Demon Alliance believed that as long as they could confirm the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor's whereabouts, the old Alliance Master and young Alliance Master would definitely be able to kill him. However, the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor's forbearance exceeded everyone's expectations. Even though his reputation was in tatters and he had been slandered by all sorts of rumors, he still refused to show himself, and his whereabouts were never revealed. Even a 9th Heaven Realm Divine King like 5th Gene, who had the Myriad Demon Alliance's powerful intelligence network, could not find the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor's whereabouts. Therefore, in these 10 days, the Myriad Demon Alliance seemed to have the upper hand on the surface and suppressed the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor in terms of reputation. However, in reality, Divine King Luo Ho, the General Manager, the Protectors, and the Elders were all worried for Ji Tianqing and were extremely worried. Without knowing the whereabouts of the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor, they could not predict whether his next target would be the Myriad Demon City or the Xuanji Cave. The Myriad Demon City was still fine, as 70% of the Myriad Demon Alliance's elite forces were gathered there and they were heavily guarded. However, in the Xuanji Cave, there were not many true experts around Ji Tianqing. There were only 5 Divine King experts and over 1,000 Divine Monarchs. The remaining 2,000 over people were all craftsmen with weak combat strength. 12 days passed. The tense situation in the Stellar Source continent was like an extremely taut bowstring that could snap at any time. Finally, on the morning of the 13th day, before the sun rose, a figure covered in a black robe and a large cloak silently descended on the peak of the Sky Crane Mountain. This tall figure stood in the sea of clouds and looked up at the bright moon in the sky. An elder with antlers who was also wearing a black robe and a cloak followed silently beside the figure. Without a doubt, they were the Gold Origin Dragon Emperor and the elder with antlers. The bright moon in the sky was once again entangled by the 9 intersecting heavenly rivers. Clearly, Ji Tianqing had sealed the entrance to the Enigma Grotto. A few days ago, many secret agents and experts had come to the vicinity of Sky Crane Mountain to inquire about the situation in Xuanji Grotto. At that time, the entrance to the Xuanji Grotto had not been sealed, and many craftsmen could be seen entering and leaving. Chapter 38-23. Bastard, he actually changed the structure of the array and added 9 more transformations? The deer-horned elder stared at the 9 bends of heaven river array coldly as he murmured to himself. I thought that the array we broke previously was already the peak state of this divine array. I didn't expect him to make 9 more transformations just by making some minor adjustments to the array, increasing its power by 30%. This kid's comprehension and array Dao attainments are at the peak of perfection. It's really terrifying. The array was still the same, but the method they used to break it was useless. They had to observe and break it again. The half-day deadline given by the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor was impossible to achieve. Therefore, the deer-horned elder could only report the truth to the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor was furious, but there was nothing he could do. He could only suppress his anger and observe the array personally to think of a way to break it. 2 hours later, the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor finally thought of a way to break it. He personally took charge of the situation and instructed the deer-horned elder and the 60 god kings to cooperate with him. Swoosh! 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 As the dazzling divine lights entered the 9 bends of heaven river array, the 9 bends of heaven river array shone with silver light and released powerful divine power fluctuations. The work of breaking the array began in an orderly manner. There were no guards at the peak of Sky Crane Mountain. However, there were more than 30 armored and sword-wielding guards at the entrance of the Xuanji Grotto Heaven. They guarded the entrance day and night without rest. Ever since the young Alliance Master personally sealed the entrance 4 days ago, they had been guarding the entrance without leaving. Of course, their mission was not to stop the invaders but to monitor the movements of the 9 bends of heaven river array. If there was any abnormal reaction from the array, they would immediately report it to the young Alliance Master. At this moment, the spatial door with a radius of 10,000 feet suddenly trembled and flashed with a blinding white light. The 30 or so guards immediately became alert and stared at the spatial gate with vigilant gazes. The leader of the guards took out his communication jade slip without hesitation and reported the situation to the young Alliance Master. In the depths of the Grotto Heaven, the ruins of the Golden Dragon Mountain had been flattened by many craftsmen over the past few days. Countless wood and stone materials were piled up on the flattened ground. There were also many palace walls that had just been built. More than 2,000 craftsmen were ordered to build the divine palace. They were busy for a few days. However, 4 days ago, the young Alliance Master issued an order to stop the construction work. After that, all of the craftsmen were gathered together and brought to the depths of the mysterious paradise. They entered a certain palace at the foot of the mountains to rest and recuperate. At this time, Ji Tianxing was in the deepest part of the mountains, at the peak of a giant mountain that was tens of thousands of feet high. The peak of the mountain was originally covered with forests and piles of rocks, but now it was leveled. The ground of the mountain peak with a radius of 100 miles was paved with huge bluestone, forming a spacious square. In the middle of the square was a tall altar with a radius of 10,000 feet. The altar that had gathered dozens of materials and consumed hundreds of billions of resources was actually a teleportation divine array. In order to set up this transmission array that connected to the 1,000-demon city, Ji Tianxing and the 9 divine king powerhouses spent a full 9 days and 9 nights. Of the 9 divine king powerhouses, 5 were brought by him from the 1,000-demon alliance, including divine king Wanli and 2 elders. The other 4 were naturally Yunyao, Ji Ku, Chao Qingyu, and Bai Feng. After setting up the teleportation divine array, Ji Tianxing and the 9 divine kings returned to the distorted spacetime and the divine clock world to recuperate. At this time, Ji Tianxing sensed that the great 9 bends of heaven river array was moving. He ended his cultivation and left the distorted spacetime. Swoosh! With a flash of white light, he appeared on the square at the peak of the mountain. He raised his hand and put away the 9 heavens 10 absolutes pagoda. He frowned and looked in the direction of the paradise entrance. He used his mind to sense the changes in the great 9 bends of heaven river array. At this time, a communication jade slip flew from the sky and landed in front of him. He picked up the jade slip and used his divine sense to read the message inside. The guard commander reported respectfully, reporting to the young alliance master, there are experts attacking the seal array. Ji Tianqing carefully sensed the changes in the array. He had an answer in his heart. He muttered to himself, they are not attacking. They are casting spells to break the array. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor could not hold back and attacked. Therefore, he used the communication jade slip to order the guards to retreat to the Golden Dragon Mountain ruins immediately. Immediately after, he sent a message to Divine King Luoho, asking the elites of the Thousand Demon Alliance to gather and prepare to teleport to the mysterious paradise through the teleportation divine array. Swoosh! The communication jade slip flew high into the sky and disappeared. Ji Tianqing also left the peak of the mountain and rushed to the paradise entrance to activate the great 9 bends of heaven river array. Although the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor had brought dozens of Divine King powerhouses and could definitely break the array, but he still had to stop them and buy more time for the Thousand Demon Alliance's soldiers. More than 10 days ago, when Ji Tianqing left the Thousand Demon City, Divine King Luoho, Hu Xinyue, and the others had already started making preparations. At this moment, Divine King Luoho received Ji Tianqing's message. He immediately relaxed his brows and smiled as though he had been relieved of a heavy burden. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor is a sly old fox. He finally could not hold back. I guessed right. He did not dare to attack the Thousand Demon City because he wanted to be safe. So he went to attack the mysterious paradise. Divine King Luoho sneered and kept the communication jade slip. He quickly ordered the left and right protectors to gather the elite soldiers. Soon, the urgent sound of a bell rang in the Thousand Demon City and spread to every corner of the city. Thousands of Sir God powerhouses and dozens of Divine King powerhouses had been recuperating in the city, waiting for orders. When they heard the bell and the orders of their superiors, they quickly gathered at the city square in an orderly manner. Although the city was huge, thousands of people were scattered around the city, guarding different posts. However, these elite soldiers still managed to gather within 2 hours. Immediately after, Grand Elder Hu Xinyue personally led the soldiers into an underground palace in the depths of the Divine Palace. In that spacious but dark underground palace, there was a teleportation divine formation that had been set up not long ago. Under the lead of the left and right protectors and the 7 elders, more than 3,000 soldiers stepped into the teleportation divine formation and left the Thousand Demon City. After the soldiers left, Divine King Luoho, the Chief of Internal Affairs, and Divine King Jinwu also rushed over. At the edge of the teleportation divine formation, Divine King Luoho patted the Chief of Internal Affairs' shoulder and said earnestly, although I know that you want to fight the enemy with everyone, I know that you must protect the Thousand Demon City. You must stay behind to protect the Thousand Demon City. This time, 80% of the Alliance's elite forces will go to the mysterious paradise to participate in the battle. The Thousand Demon City's defenses are at their weakest and it is also the most dangerous time. This is our home and nest. Nothing must happen to it. Therefore, I can only be at ease if I hand this difficult task to you. I will definitely not disappoint you. The Chief of Internal Affairs had a complicated expression on his face. He bowed solemnly and watched Divine King Luoho and Divine King Jinwu step into the teleportation divine formation. Chapter 38-24. Inside the Xuanji Cave. Deep within the mountains, at the peak of a giant mountain. On the square, which had a radius of 100 miles, the tall altar glowed with a divine light, releasing beams of white light one after another. Groups of divine sovereign realm experts of the Myriad Demon Alliance flew out of the altar and landed on the square made of blue stones. In just 100 breaths, more than 3,000 soldiers had arrived at the Xuanji cave from the 10,000 demon city through the teleportation array. They landed on the plaza and arranged themselves neatly into 6 teams. There was no sign of panic on their faces. The left and right protectors, Hu Xinyue, and a few elders were the leaders of the 6 teams. After organizing their teams, they looked at the altar and waited for their alliance master to arrive. Whoosh! Whoosh! When Luoho Supreme Being and Golden Fifth Supreme Being flew out from the altar, everyone had finally arrived. The soldiers did not salute. They only looked at the alliance master with burning gazes and excitement. Their blood was boiling in their bodies. Luoho Supreme Being looked at the entrance of the cave. Although his spiritual consciousness could not detect the situation there, he knew that Ji Tianqing was holding back the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor and the others. He was using his own strength to fight the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor and dozens of Supreme Being experts through the 9 Bends Heaven River formation. This was undoubtedly dangerous, but it could effectively stall for time. At the same time, it could let the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor know that he was in the Xuanji cave and was not bluffing. This was the only way for the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor to be more determined to attack and not retreat halfway through. Soldiers, listen up. Let's go. Luoho Supreme Being was worried about Ji Tianqing's safety. Therefore, he did not delay any longer. He immediately gave the order and led the 3,000 soldiers towards the Golden Dragon Mountain range. That was the battlefield that Ji Tianqing had chosen. It was the most advantageous for the 10,000 Demon Alliance to fight there. This was because the seemingly messy piles of stone and wood, together with the palace walls that had just been laid down, would form a great formation. As the soldiers of the 10,000 Demon Alliance flew towards the Golden Dragon Mountain range, Ji Tianqing was fighting fiercely with the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor at the entrance of the cave. He stood proudly in the sky by himself. In front of him was the spatial door with a radius of 10,000 feet. Hundreds of millions of formation veins lit up around the scorching white space gate. 5-colored light flowed through them as they flickered. The 9 silvery Milky Way shadows were also surging and roaring like giant dragons. Ji Tianqing stared at the space gate attentively. His mind was connected with the billions of formations. He cast a spell with both of his hands and unleashed countless beams of divine light. He was controlling the great formation of 9 bends of the Heaven River with all his might to stop the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor and the others from destroying it. Moreover, he used various attacks through the formation to heavily injure and assassinate the God Kings who tried to break through the formation. On the surface, he didn't seem to be in any danger. After all, the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor and the 60 Immortal Kings were outside the cave, separated from him by the great formation of the 9 bends of the Heaven River and the spatial barrier of the Xuanji cave. But in reality, it was as if there was a layer of water between the two of them. If one looked outside the cave, the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor and the others at the peak of Sky Crane Mountain could tell how dangerous this battle was. The huge moon in the sky was flashing with 5-colored divine light. The 9 divine rivers soared in the sky like divine dragons, roaring and surging, releasing light beams and sharp blades that covered the entire sky. Swish! 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 The formation continued to release beams of divine light and sharp blades. It was like a rain of swords that covered the sky. They rained down on the 60 Immortal Kings. With the Deer-horned Elder as their leader, the 60 Immortal Kings were scattered around the moon, in a formation. They were using all their strength to break through the formation. Faced with the rain of swords and beams of light, the Immortal Kings were frightened. However, they didn't dare to dodge, lest they destroy the formation and ruin the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's plan. Therefore, in the past 2 hours, they had endured countless attacks but didn't give way. Now, many of them were severely injured. They were covered in wounds and dripping with blood. They looked miserable. The 12 upper-level Immortal Kings were still fine. However, the 48 mid-level immortal kings were in a terrible state. Fortunately, they had joined forces to form a battle formation. Everyone's strength was combined and they were able to withstand the attacks. Otherwise, many of the mid-level immortal kings would have been killed. Bang! 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 Another wave of swords and beams of divine light came. The immortal kings were terrified. However, they could only grit their teeth and endure. Following a series of muffled explosions, more than a dozen blossoms of blood burst out around Bright Moon, and fragments flew everywhere. 7 severely injured mid-level immortal kings couldn't hold on any longer. They were killed by the rain of swords and beams of light. Their divine bodies were destroyed on the spot. Among them, 4 were unlucky. Their godheads were destroyed and they died. The other 3 were luckier. Their godhead survived and they managed to survive. Chapter 38-25. 4 hours later, the battle finally came to an end. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor was gratified by the outcome. After all, he had defeated Ji Tianqing and successfully destroyed the 9 bends of the Heaven River Array. However, the Deer-Horned Elder and the surviving God Kings did not feel gratified at all. Instead, they felt as though a heavy burden had been lifted off their shoulders. This was because they had suffered heavy casualties. Out of the 60 God Kings, only 39 were left. Out of the remaining 21, 12 had perished. 9 had escaped with only their godheads. Even the 39 survivors were mostly injured, and their faces were filled with exhaustion and weariness. Only the Deer-Horned Elder and a few high-level God Kings were safe and sound. They had preserved their strength. With a loud cracking sound, 3 of the 9 Milky Way phantoms that were entwined with the bright moon shattered on the spot. Amidst the bright moon, a 10-meter-wide gap appeared in the ceiling formation. Everyone worked together to release their divine power to seal the gap. This was to prevent Ji Tianqing from repairing the array and filling the gap. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor shouted as he charged into the gap with the Golden Dragon Divine Sword in hand. The Deer-Horned Elder and the 30-odd God Kings did not have time to rest. They quickly took out their divine weapons and charged into the gap. Swoosh! 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 In the blink of an eye, everyone had charged into the Xuanji Grotto and appeared in the dark sky. The air in the Xuanji Grotto was fresher than the air in the Dragon Realm. Moreover, the divine power was 10 times denser. Everyone was energized, and their fatigue was swept away. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor held his golden sword as he scanned the sky, searching for Long Tian and the myriad Demon Alliance's experts. In his opinion, the battle earlier was extremely intense. Long Tian and the other God Kings must have worked together to inflict heavy casualties on his subordinates. However, as far as he could see, his surroundings were empty. When he used his divine perception to check, he discovered a white-robed figure 50,000 miles away. He was flying 10,000 miles in an instant towards the depths of the Xuanji Grotto. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor was not unfamiliar with that figure. He immediately recognized him. That person was that damned Long Tian. Why is he alone? Are there no other God Kings helping him? Just by relying on his own strength, he was able to control that great formation with such terrifying power. This thought flashed across the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's mind. He could only feel disbelief and shock. However, he did not delve too deeply into this issue. Instead, he hurriedly led the group and flew across the sky, heading towards the depths of the grotto heaven. Swish! The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor stepped across the sky, his body glowing with white light. Every step he took covered a distance of 10,000 miles. His spiritual consciousness locked onto Ji Tianqing and chased after him as fast as he could. The two of them maintained a distance of 50,000 li between them, unable to increase the distance between them. The deer-horned elder and the 30 god kings were slightly slower. Naturally, they couldn't keep up with the gold source dragon emperor. However, they would not lose their way as long as they followed the divine power aura left behind by the golden origin dragon emperor. About 100 breaths later, the golden origin dragon emperor chased after Ji Tianqing for over 1,000,000 li. At this point, Ji Tianqing finally stopped in mid-air and turned to look at the golden origin dragon emperor. Even though he was standing alone in the sky, he appeared to be calm, and confident. The golden origin dragon emperor immediately became alert. He guessed that the other party was fearless and most likely had a large number of troops lying in ambush. Therefore, he also slowed down. As he flew towards Ji Tianqing, he released his spiritual consciousness to check the situation in all directions. Fortunately, they were surrounded by towering mountains and steep ridges. There were no divine formations or hidden troops. The golden origin dragon emperor was slightly relieved. He stepped across the sky and gradually closed in on Ji Tianqing. He shouted in a chilling tone, "Long Tian. I have been waiting for this day for 2 whole years. No matter how many schemes you have, you are still trapped in the Xuanji Grotto heaven. Only death awaits you. You killed my subordinates, destroyed my divine palace, and even tried to steal my legacy. Tell me, if I don't crush you into pieces, grind your bones, and scatter your ashes, how can I resolve the hatred in my heart?" The golden origin dragon emperor's attitude was tough, and his tone was confident and domineering. However, he was very vigilant. He secretly released his divine power and spiritual consciousness, silently forming domains and seals in the area within a radius of 80,000 li. He had already found out that Long Tian, who was 50 li away, was the real body and not an avatar. No matter what schemes Long Tian had, he only needed to seal this area and kill Long Tian as quickly as possible. Then, victory would be in his grasp. Ji Tianqing placed his left hand behind his back and held the sword of burial of heaven in his right hand. He looked at the golden origin dragon emperor calmly and said, "Golden origin dragon emperor, you are still afraid. Otherwise, you could have just attacked directly. Why do you need to be so cautious?" The golden origin dragon emperor was not angered by his mockery. He sneered confidently and said, "Even an eagle needs to use all its strength to catch a rabbit. You have always been sinister and cunning. It is only right for me to be cautious." Ji Tianqing sneered disdainfully and said with a disappointed tone, "I have heard that the golden origin dragon emperor, one of the 5 great dragon emperors, has always regarded himself as the descendant of the ancestral dragon. I did not expect that you, the dragon emperor of the ancestral dragon, would be as timid as a mouse. You do not have the domineering aura of a dragon emperor. Let me tell you the truth. You don't have to search repeatedly. There is only you and me within 100,000 miles. There is no one else." The golden origin dragon emperor knew that Long Tian was the only disciple of the heavenly dragon emperor. It was normal for him to know these secrets. However, Long Tian's confidence made him feel uneasy. "Long Tian, there are no ambushes, divine formations, or traps around here. Could it be that you think you can kill this emperor just because you lured this emperor here? Ha ha ha. You are too naive. What a joke." Ji Tianqing raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "Whether I can kill you or not, we will only know after we fight. However, even if I cannot kill you, it is not a problem for me to delay you for a few hours. And in these few hours, you can only watch helplessly as the divine king powerhouses under your command are killed by our alliance one by one. When the time comes, you will be alone and unable to escape death." As he spoke, Ji Tianqing released an invisible divine aura. It covered a radius of 80,000 miles and formed an invisible sealing territory. He locked on to the golden origin dragon emperor's divine spirit. His white robe also fluttered as his battle-intent soared. The golden origin dragon emperor suddenly thought of something. His eyes narrowed and his face turned cold. Mr. Lu and the 30 over god kings are still not here. Could they have been ambushed and fallen into a trap? In his anxiety, he quickly released his divine senses to check the situation behind him. However, even though he was a peak god king, his divine senses could only cover a radius of 90,000 miles. This was the limit. Within 90,000 miles, there was no trace of the deer-horned elder and the rest in the mountains. He suddenly remembered that when he was chasing Long Tian, he had passed by the ruins of the Golden Dragon Mountain. The ruins were 300,000 miles behind him. The originally dilapidated land had been repaired and flattened. Moreover, there were many materials piled up on the land and many palace walls were built. Chapter 38-26. With the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's intelligence and alertness, he immediately realized that the problem lay in the Golden Dragon Mountain range. Long Tian. You set up traps and ambushes in the Golden Dragon Mountain range to kill the god kings under my command. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor furrowed his brows and glared at Ji Tianqing as he asked in a deep voice. As expected of the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor. You reacted so quickly. Ji Tianqing praised him with a smile. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor narrowed his eyes and sneered, You are indeed sinister and cunning. You know how cautious I am. If you had set up traps and ambushes here, I would not have fallen for them. Therefore, you set up traps in the Golden Dragon Mountain range to kill Mr. Lu and the God Kings. When you fled earlier, I was in a hurry to kill you. Even though I passed by the Golden Dragon Mountain range, I did not pay much attention to you. Now, even though I know about your scheme, I will not be able to save them. What a good plan. You flatter me. Ji Tianqing still had a smile on his face. He didn't look proud at all. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor was not upset. He sneered and said, Long Tian, I have to admit that your array skills are amazing. If you had set up traps in the Golden Dragon Mountain range, they would have suffered heavy casualties. However, you are too naive to think that you could kill Mr. Lu and the 30 over God Kings with just those traps. As the two of them talked, they analyzed each other's schemes and countermeasures. At the same time, they secretly released their divine energy and set up a sealing divine array with a radius of 80,000 miles. Therefore, the two of them were very confident and were not in a hurry to kill. Ji Tianqing smiled and said, Those 30 over people are all intermediate and high god kings. There is even a 9th heaven realm expert among them. He should be the Mr. Lu you mentioned. The arrays that I set up are not enough to kill them. I can only cause them some casualties. However, I purposely released the news of the Divine Palace to force you to attack the mysterious Grotto Heaven. How could I not have prepared an ambush? The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor frowned and said in a low voice, Although you have eliminated a few of my spies in the Demon City, I still know the situation in the Demon City. Luo Ho, the Chief of Internal Affairs, and the Left and Right Protectors are all in Myriad Demon City. They didn't follow you to the Xuanji Grotto. Even if you've set up an ambush in the Golden Dragon Mountain range, it's only a few elders of the Myriad Demon League. Just relying on that meager number of people and wanting to kill over 30 divine kings. In your dreams. Chapter 38-27. Ji Tianqing and the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor were engaged in an intense battle within the two sealing formations that spanned 80,000 miles. Both of them unleashed their best sword skills and unleashed hundreds of nomological laws and divine powers as they flashed around in the sky. Dazzling five-colored divine lights clashed in the sky and countless divine light shards rained down like rain. Hundreds of nomological laws and divine powers transformed into various images and images that filled the sealing formations. The entire area within 80,000 miles was in a state of chaos. The nomological laws and illusions included stars, silver galaxies, collapsing mountains and rivers, the rotation of the sun, moon, and stars, the eruption of heavenly winds and earthly fires, life and death, etc. The shock waves from their intense battle destroyed tens of thousands of miles of land and tore apart the sky. Both of them had only exchanged over 30 moves before the heavens and earth were shattered and a huge hole was blasted open in the Xuanji Utopia. The void storm suddenly surged, and all kinds of pitch-black turbulence rushed into the Xuanji grotto like seawater flowing backwards. Fortunately, the two sealing arrays blocked the destructive void storm and turbulence, so it didn't spread to other places. Ji Tianqing and the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor did not want to destroy the Xuanji Utopia. Hence, they could only shift the battlefield and fight in the void. Experts at their level were no longer suitable to fight in the Dragon Realm. They could easily shatter the spatial barriers, destroy the heavens and earth, and create a huge disaster. Once the disaster affected too many innocent living beings, it would be a sin of killing in karma. As long as one had respect for the heavenly Tao, it was impossible not to fear karma. Hence, a battle between peak supreme god kings would usually take place in the void. Ji Tianqing and the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor were on par with each other in terms of strength. Both of them wielded king-class upper-grade divine swords. Ji Tianqing's sword skills were even more powerful and could be said to have reached the pinnacle. However, the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's strength was even more profound. He had cultivated for over 20,000 years and it was terrifying. Hence, the battle between the two of them could not be decided in a short period of time. Ji Tianqing was not in a hurry. He only needed to delay the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor. Naturally, God King Rahu and the soldiers of the Myriad Demon Alliance would kill Mr. Lu and the 30 or so God Kings. However, the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor would not allow this to happen. He wanted to kill Ji Tianqing and save Mr. Lu and the others. Before leaving the Xuanji Grotto and entering the void, he used all his strength to break through the sealing formation and open the world within the Golden Dragon Divine Sword. Swoosh! Swish! Instantly, more than 40 low-level divine kings and 3,000 Sir God experts poured down like a five-colored flood, rushing out of the grand sealing formation. They had already received the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's orders and rushed to the Golden Dragon Mountain Range to assist Mr. Lu and the others. Ji Tianqing's reaction was very fast. When he realized that the situation was not good, he immediately repaired the gap in the seal and charged over with his sword. However, he had only intercepted over 300 god monarchs and killed 6 god kings. The others had already escaped from the sealing formation and were rushing to the ruins of the Golden Dragon Mountain as fast as they could. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor finally heaved a sigh of relief when he saw more than 2,000 people flying across the sky and disappearing into the horizon. As long as Mr. Lu and the others can hold on for a while longer, the 2,000 soldiers will arrive and resolve the crisis. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor had sent people to investigate the strength of the Myriad Demon Alliance for a long time. He could roughly guess that even if the Myriad Demon Alliance had mobilized all their forces, they would only be able to gather 3,000 soldiers. The 2,000 soldiers under his command were fewer than the Myriad Demon Alliance. However, he had more god kings under his command. He would definitely be able to defeat the Myriad Demon Alliance. Just as the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor felt relieved and was thinking to himself, the 300 god monarchs who had been intercepted and trapped in the sealing formation were being slaughtered by Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing controlled the sealing formation and released a terrifying divine aura to suppress the god monarchs. The many high-level god monarchs felt as though they were stuck in a quagmire and could not move. All of them were struggling with their backs hunched and their faces were filled with pain. When Ji Tianqing pointed his sword at the sky, thousands of starry giant swords rained down from the sky and drowned the god monarchs. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor was shocked and quickly tried to defend himself. However, it was already too late. The 300 god monarchs could not even hold on for a few breaths under the bombardment of the starry giant swords. They were all smashed into pieces. Snowflakes danced in the sky amidst the starry giant swords. After a while, when the starry giant swords and the starry giant swords dissipated, the 300 god monarchs also disappeared without a trace. Only fragments of godheads and bone fragments were left. They fell from the sky and scattered on the ground. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor was furious that he had not been able to stop Ji Tianqing in time. He roared and charged over with his sword. As for the death of the 300 god monarchs, it did not cause any ripples in his heart. After all, they were the elites of the various forces and not the golden dragon guards of the Xuanji Grotto. Of course, even if the 300 golden dragon guards had been killed, he would not be too concerned. Hence, only Ji Tianqing and the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor were left on the battlefield. The two of them left the Xuanji Grotto and charged into the vast void one after the other. They started an even more intense battle. At the same time, an even more intense battle was taking place at the Golden Dragon Mountain ruins. After Luoho's Supreme Being and the 3,000 soldiers arrived at the Xuanji Grotto through the super teleportation formation, they followed the plan and rushed to the Golden Dragon Mountain ruins. Many stones, wood, and half of a palace wall were piled up on the flattened ruins. It looked like they had stopped halfway, but in reality, it was to conceal the divine formation underground. God King Rahu and the 3,000-plus soldiers quickly activated the deity array and hid underground. Before long, Ji Tianqing, the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor, flew over the Golden Dragon Mountain ruins and rushed to the depths of the grotto. The Golden Origin Dragon Emperor was only focused on chasing after Ji Tianqing and did not check the Golden Dragon Mountain ruins carefully. Luoho's Supreme Being and the 3,000 soldiers relied on the cover of the divine formation and did not expose themselves. After waiting for a while, they saw more than 30 godly king experts in a sorry state chasing after them with murderous intent. Hence, when those godly kings flew over the Golden Dragon Mountain ruins, Luoho's Supreme Being and the 3,000 soldiers attacked decisively. More than 10 divine formations were activated instantly and connected together to form a super formation that spanned 90,000 miles. The five-colored light barrier that covered the sky sealed off the Golden Dragon Mountain ruins. Mr. Lu and the 30 godly king experts were naturally trapped within the formation. Everyone realized that they had fallen into an ambush and immediately formed a battle formation to defend against the enemy. The 3,000 soldiers from the Myriad Demon Alliance took up 6 different positions and formed an even larger battle formation to surround and attack them. These soldiers had a clear division of labor and coordinated well. Under the command of the elders, hall masters, and branch leaders, they attacked in an orderly manner. As soon as the two sides clashed, the 30 godly king experts were attacked fiercely. They were beaten back by the 3,000 soldiers and suffered heavy injuries. Immediately after, Luoho's Supreme Being, the left and right protectors, and a few high-level godly kings attacked and quickly killed a few mid-level godly kings. Mr. Lu and the rest were in a desperate situation and could not turn the tables. Chapter 38-29. Mr. Lu and the 20 over-god kings had been able to fend off the 3,000 attacks because of the shield they had formed. However, God King Rahu had taken an extremely great risk. He had destroyed the shield of light with a single strike and killed 5 god kings. Their formation had been disrupted and their divine powers were in a mess. They could not reform their formation in a short time. The left and right protectors and a few elders took this opportunity to lead the 3,000 soldiers in a ferocious attack. Mr. Lu tried his best to defend himself and even used his body to block the attacks to reduce the pressure on his companions. As a result, he was severely injured and his body was covered in blood. However, it was futile. The 22 god kings did not have the support of their formation. They were in a mess and fled in panic. The number of casualties increased exponentially. In a flash, another 4 god kings were killed. Even the 12 god kings, including Mr. Lu, were severely injured. They were in a precarious situation. At this moment, everyone's hearts were filled with fear and uneasiness, shrouded in a haze of despair. Has the Dragon Emperor not realized that we have been ambushed? Why hasn't he come to our rescue? There are more than 3,000 of them and Luo Ho is a peak god king. How can we hold them off? We are doomed. The heavens want us dead. We will all die here in half an hour. We won't even have the chance to escape. Everybody looked around at the soldiers of the 10,000 Demon Alliance and the super array with a radius of tens of thousands of square kilometers. The desperation in their hearts surged like a flood. At this moment, waves of divine power surged from outside the super formation. Deafening shouts could be heard. Kill! Kill all the myriad Demon Alliance bastards. Despicable lackeys of the 10,000 Demon Alliance, die. Mr. Lu and the rest are trapped in the formation. Everyone, attack the formation and save them. Don't panic. Maintain the formation and form the 9 Palace Meteor Battle Formation. Without a doubt, the 2,000 Sir Gods and 40 Lower God Kings that the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor had released had finally arrived. Before they arrived at the Golden Dragon Mountain, they knew that Mr. Lu and 30 God Kings had been ambushed by the Myriad Demon Alliance. Therefore, when they saw a super formation with a radius of 90,000 miles that sealed off the entire Golden Dragon Mountain range, they were not shocked or surprised. When they arrived near the formation, they immediately spread out and formed the 9 Palace Meteor Battle Formation in the sky. The 2,000 plus godly lords and 40 plus godly kings came from more than 10 different factions. They were not familiar with one another, so there was no tacit understanding between them. Chapter 38:30. Divine King Luoho followed Dragon Emperor Feng Tian and cultivated the way of the Heavenly Dragon his entire life. His situation was very similar to Ji Tianqing's. Although he did not have the true bloodline of the Heavenly Dragon, he could use the various skills of the Heavenly Dragon tribe. Of course, Ji Tianqing's understanding of the way of the Heavenly Dragon was much deeper than his. That was why he could transform into a dragon's body and make everyone in the dragon realm think that he was a dragon. And Divine King Luoho was most proficient in the way of poison. After his lifetime of research and hard work, the way of poison was no longer limited to the crude methods of using physical objects or divine power to contain poison. He had already cultivated the way of poison, and the formless way of poison contained poison. In fact, he could even use his divine soul power and consciousness to unleash deadly poison. At Divine King Luoho's level, he only needed a thought to kill many divine lords. He only needed a wisp of divine thought to poison Divine King experts. What kind of terrifying method was this? He transformed into a heavenly dragon and wreaked havoc in the battle formation of more than 2,000 divine lords. He easily killed more than 100 divine lords. More than 200 divine lords also turned to ashes under the bombardment of divine fire, light pillars, and sharp blades. As for the rapidly spreading 5-colored poisonous fog that blotted out the sky, it caused more than 600 divine lords to be corroded. The powerful poison corroded the bodies of many divine lords into a pool of blood. The formless divine thought poison corroded the souls of many divine lords, causing their consciousness to blur and collapse. Soon, they fell unconscious. In just a few breaths, the 9 Palace Meteor Battle Formation was shattered and many divine lords died. Even a few of the lower divine kings were unlucky. They were poisoned and lost their ability to fight. Everyone roared in horror, running away in a panic. They no longer cared about attacking the sealing formation. With that, the pressure on the 10,000 Demon Alliance soldiers in the formation was greatly reduced. They attacked Mr. Lu and the others with all their might. Mr. Lu and the 17 Divine Kings were struggling to break out of the encirclement. They wanted to reach the edge of the sealing formation. After being attacked by the 10,000 Demon Alliance soldiers, they could no longer advance. Soon, more casualties appeared. It looked like their pincer attack was about to be defeated by Divine King Luoho. At the critical moment, the 40 over low-level god kings outside the grand formation actually maintained their calm and steadied their footing. They shouted loudly and hoarsely as they gave their orders. Finally, they managed to calm the 1,000 or so Sir gods who were lucky enough to survive. Not only did ordinary god kings not discover him, but even Ji Tianqing and the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor did not notice him. As time passed, the blue-robed profiteer watched the battle for a while longer. He could not help but reveal a gratified smile. He smiled and muttered to himself, "This little rascal. His appearance has not changed much from before. However, his temperament has changed a lot. It's like he's a completely different person. But that's good too. At least he doesn't pretend to be mature and cold all the time. He's young, so he should act like a young man. It's good to be a little mischievous. Looks like he's had a good time in the divine world. Not only does he have a Tao companion and a son, but even his personality has changed. Sigh, it's a pity that old man Tian Long died early. I can't see him anymore." The blue-robed profiteer was gratified and sighed. He even shook his head subconsciously. However, after watching for a while longer, he gradually felt that it was not interesting anymore. He could not help but feel a little regretful. Sigh, although the little rascal's cultivation is more profound and he has mastered more mystiques, he's still too young. He's not as profound as the Golden Origin Dragon Emperor's cultivation. If the battle continues like this, I'm afraid the victor will not be decided even after a day and a night. If it really drags on for 3 days, I'm afraid the loser will still be him. That Ophiuchus, why can't he deal with a bunch of small fries after so long? As he muttered to himself, the blue-robed profiteer split a strand of his consciousness to check on the battle in the Xuanji Utopia. Before leaving the Xuanji Utopia, he left a clone in the Xuanji Utopia to observe the battle in the dark and to prevent any unexpected situations. That incarnation was a man of the Dragon clan who was more than 10 feet tall. He was tall and mighty. He wore a pitch-black dragon-scale armor. He had a square face and a wide nose. He had a pair of thick eyebrows and big, bright eyes. He was majestic, domineering, and had an iron-blooded murderous aura. He was like the general of the Dragon clan, the commander of the Dragon Riders. Before this, the blue-robed profiteer had not made any moves. This clone of his had been hiding underground, concealing all of its aura so that no one could detect it. Now that he had made a move, this Dragon General clone moved quietly underground, quickly approaching the battlefield. Not long after, the Dragon General clone arrived near the battlefield. He silently flew up into the sky, hiding high up in the sky, overlooking the entire battlefield. He saw that Master Lu and more than 1,000 godly lords were surrounded by more than 3,000 soldiers from the Myriad Demon Alliance. They were being attacked from all sides. The two sides fought fiercely. There were people being killed at every moment. They fell into pools of blood or turned into a rain of flesh and blood.